I think it's really hard to do period pieces and make them interesting for today's audiences because I think what this film carries with it is it's a cautionary tale for today. Zippy, talk to me about your character and getting involved with this film.
Yeah, I feel like my character's the most anachronistic. Like she could be a teenager at any time, which was really fun to play and to be. And then also just this like fierceness that she had that I want to have more in my life was just so fun to play with. And then also having little siblings. I have little siblings in real life, and the connection with the little siblings on set was really wonderful. So yeah, it was very fun to do. And also touching on the period piece, I freaking loved wearing the costumes and I loved doing the period piece. I think I was the happiest of
Really?
everyone on set to wear. I was like, yes, get me in a corset. I'm ready. It was really fun.
Wow. Wow. Jacob, talk to me about your character, and you didn't have to wear a corset.
Unfortunately, no, I would have loved to. But yeah, my character Nat is he I think the number one word to describe him is curious. He has grown up kind of very sheltered and um something has always made him feel like he's not like he's different from the community that he's grown up in. And I think that when he has the opportunity to sort of expose himself to a new perspective and to that being in Marty's character Ned, he really jumps at that opportunity. And yeah, he's someone that questions everything and he wants to know what more life has to offer.
Uh, Zipporah, and I love that name, by the way.
Thank you.
It's my new favorite name. Uh, Talk to me a little bit about approaching your character, Sarah. I know she's a nurturer. We talked about that just briefly, but you know, taking on someone who has, pulled the wagon and, is in the middle of this kind of horribly rough country. You've got to wear that too.
Yeah. It was interesting because we were filming on location the whole time. And so there wasn't really any extra work of terms of like we were in the environment, we were living there the whole time. We were very isolated from like normal life. And so it was like I almost felt like just being in the landscape, you could feel and like actually pushing the carts. We pushed the carts a lot. So it like almost we were just like came to location, we were in it the whole time. And then just bringing that character and that the situation that they're going through and everything, um, just adding to that that landscape and everything, I think added so much to bringing the characters alive.
But was there a moment while you're doing all this that you went, boy, I'm sure glad I was born in this century?
The whole time? I mean, just like toilet paper. Like I don't think they have toilet
Electricity.
paper.
We
Yeah.
didn't have electricity either in our cabins, which was kind of an awesome way to get into the characters too. You
I
know,
heard everybody was sharing one phone charger.
yeah, well, I think we had one outlet that they had given us like a generator or something that had like I don't know. It's been a little while, but I think because of that, it's like you could plug in one or two things and everybody had to share it. But it was great. It was like it gave us all an opportunity to bond in a way that you would never get in any other film setting.
Talk to me, Jacob, about this time frame, the 1800s, and what did you learn that you didn't know?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think, one piece that I think we all learned a lot about that was pretty awesome was kind of the LDS community and stuff. Um, Pretty much every crew member that we had on this film was living in Utah and a member of that community. So I think that was a really cool thing that we all got to learn about just talking to them about their experience in the church and ooh, voice crack. Their experience in the church and what it means to them and everything. And a lot of them were really excited that we were telling this story too, which is always fun to hear.
Yeah, it's both wonderfully rewarding to know those stories, but it's also a very brutal time. And and Zeppy, talk to me about that too, because there's that balance that you've got to play because, you know, at any moment you could be attacked, while you're making a pie.
Right. I think that that's what's so maybe universal about the film is the sense, like obviously we aren't constantly walking through the desert about to be attacked, but we like that sense of danger, but then also the hope and the standing up for themselves. Like that's what drew me to the film in the first place, and reading the script and the character, and just I think for me the story is a lot about clinging to hope and fighting for yourself and your family, and that almost feels universal to me.
Yeah.
But then also set in this incredibly beautiful and stark landscape.
Working with the co-stars that you did, Jacob, I mean, you've got some brilliant actors surrounding you. And in doing your scenes and them as scene partners, what did you take with you for your toolkit?
Um, well, I think that, I got to work a lot with Marty doing some kind of one-on-one scenes and got to live with him too. And I think um, the thing I just admire so much about him is just both professionally and in his personal life, the passion that he, does everything with. Um, and his collaborative kind of nature too. Like everything, if he has an idea, he's going to share it with you. He's never afraid to share an idea. He's always so like welcoming, and so is Craig as a director too. I think it was, everybody on the set knew that we were doing something together. And but 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 yeah, I think that Marty just carries himself with such confidence and such passion, and I think that's something I want to take away for sure.
And Zeppy, how about you?
There was such a sense of camaraderie. Like Jacob was saying, we were in these cabins that didn't have electricity, like lighting. And so we had like gas lamps and we were living that. And so there was such a sense of camaraderie. And also, it was my first feature film. And I really felt like the cast, and especially Maggie, really brought me into the fold. And it just the sense of camaraderie, the sense of sharing, the sense that we were all in this together was so strong with the entire cast. And I found that really inspiring and really welcoming. And it was a really great, like, first experience on a feature set. So,
With where you were shooting in Utah and the lack of comfort out there, um, was it more like a desire just to do something that you ran over lines and you were doing table reads and things like that we've in your downtime?
it was so beautiful there. Like, I think we went on just like sitting in the grass was incredible. And I think some of us went on some hikes also. You didn't even have, like, you walk outside, your eyes didn't take any time to adjust. You'd look up and there would be the Milky Way. This, like, the most beautiful stars I've ever seen. So it was not boring in any way to me.
Well, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. Had you been to Utah before, Jacob?
Yeah, I have family in Utah, and so I spend quite a bit of time there every year. But I'd never been to the Kanab area, and I'd never been middle of nowhere like we were. I mean, Zippy might have said it, but I think we were 45 minutes from the closest gas station, and so we could have been anywhere, and it was it was just it was like she keeps saying it was the most beautiful place to wake up every morning and get to work.
Yeah, I would imagine that too. It's, for especially if you're younger. You're older like me, yeah, I want, ice. And there's
There
no
were
ice.
fridges. There
Yeah.
were fridges. They were just gas powered. So,
Ah, I'm gonna ask you something very strange, Zippy. Do you want to direct? Are you gonna hop behind the camera and just call the shots?
I don't know. My husband is a director. I prefer watching him do it. And
Really? You don't want to step on his shoes at all.
no, I see the amount of work and care it takes, and I really like working. Like it was amazing working with Craig and just like holding the space for the story and everything. I admire that and prefer being in front of the camera.
Jacob, how about you?
Um, One day I hope to. I think I actually went to film school because I thought I wanted to direct when I was younger, and then uh, I very quickly after I started doing more screen acting was like, no, this is definitely what I want to do. But I think I have interest for sure. It would just be it would have to be something that could captivate me for the 2, 3, 4, 5 year long process it takes to go from start to
Yeah.
finish as a director.
I mean, this film took a long time to kind of put together, but boy, it's certainly worth it. It's a beautifully done film.
Yeah.
Uh, Zippy, what do you think audiences will take away from the experience of watching it?
Hmm. I hope they take away a sense of hope and there's such a sense of like like especially the women in the story and my character feeling kind of powerless and then getting agency and being gifted the
Mm,
chance to really stand up for themselves and for my character Sarah to really stand up for herself and try to protect her family. And I hope that people get a sense of, yeah, that agency and that hope that the characters are given, even through the tragedies that happen and like the horrible situation that the character's in, that sense of fight and hope and resilience.
Jacob, how about you?
Very much in the same vein. I think it's this idea that like you can know people your entire life and have no idea what they're really capable of. And I think that it's a strong message to take away and to say, hey, maybe we should give people more opportunities to show us what they can really do.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a beautifully female empowered film, even though that the females begin in this movie not to have that kind of, but they earn it, they get it, and it's just a beautiful journey.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, you're both welcome, and thank you both for being part of this interview. I really appreciate it.
Of
Thanks for
course,
having
thanks for
us.
having us. It's great
Yeah.
to be here.
First of all, the film, how did it fall into your lap, and where did the idea come from?
Oh boy, long story. It actually came from an actor friend who lives here in Seattle, lived here in Seattle. He passed away. He was in his 60s. He had been in a couple of things that played at Sundance. And I just decided to cook up something for us to do together. And he's an Australian guy from Perth, and he'd been living here in Seattle for a long time, and he was pretty well known in the community. And I liked his acting style, and I had an idea that he might be able to do this kind of a character that's seen some things. And we made some attempts to do it for kind of a no budget type of thing here locally in Washington, and then for whatever reason it didn't take off. And fast forward to the pandemic, and Anne read it and said, I think we could do this because it's almost entirely shot outdoors. And we kind of got bigger ambitions. We decided to cast out of LA and look for the best actors we could find. And boy, did we find them.
You did. Martin, this is such a great character. And it's a lot different from characters you've played in the past. And talk to me a little bit about taking this role on.
Well, it's sort of a mixed bag, isn't it? On my end of the whole filmmaking equation is you want to sort of be resilient and independent and keep the high ground regards the work and choose. But once I'd read Craig's script, obviously the scenes it's a funny thing in the actors world, audition scenes come through, and oftentimes you can tell the sense or the quality of the writing just from the two or three scenes you sent. Um, well, you can determine that good or bad. So these were, standalones, and you could sense that this person understood what they were writing, or there was a slow pace even to audition scenes. And then, of course, the scripts come through, and it starts to get frightening because you so want to do it. You're so like, oh, right. It wasn't just these scenes. You've really got this film ready to go, story-wise. So, yeah, you're supposed to have this detachment as an actor, but once I'd read the whole thing, it's like, oh, this is getting scary now. I really want to play Ned.
Yeah.
So that was the journey.
And Ned again, man, what a catalyst for everything to happen. I mean, um, Craig, you must be a fan of Westerns. Uh, and that probably goes back to when you were a little kid, because this tips its hat to a lot of the films that I grew, and a lot of Sergio Leone in this.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually wrote the screenplay kind of agnostic of genre, but you have the 1870s, you have horses, you have guns, and by golly, you've got yourself a Western. And I was actually trying to avoid too many of the tropes,
Yeah.
although I am a huge fan of the classic Westerns. I'm a huge fan of Sergio Leone. I think what this shares with Sergio Leone is he was a big proponent of the close up. He really loved the actors' faces. Where this differs from Leone is I wanted the violence to be as realistic as possible and not go for that kind of operatic, stylized thing. There's consequences, there's pain, there's these people feel it when something happens, when the violence occurs.
Yeah, and what you've given us though is something that, it's so easy, I think, in my head to shoot a Western and you put on that dry light filter that, everybody's used, but you've given us a Western backdrop that really um, seems more lush, seems more colorful than just, a washout look, to make it look like it's desolate.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, shooting in Utah was such a gift. It really is the sort of place where you point the camera any direction, and it's going to be pretty spectacular, southern Utah. Um, and it's a road picture, it's a journey, and the road becomes sort of a character. So really, Utah is a character in this film, and it's one of the more beautiful ones. Not for nothing.
Yeah. And Martin clashing with the cast, in your characters, not in real life, but clashing with the characters. Um, it's gotta be great to be working with people that just really understand how the interconnection with these characters work.
Yes, well, obviously, my true sparring partner was Larry.
Yeah.
And separate, as you say, separate to meeting the actor, like the gentle man, just the beautiful essence of Larry Cedar, and of course the rest of them. Um, you you really can, you can tell in half a second that they're there because they're exceptional at their craft. So I don't suppose you sweat that part too much at all because you're just going to trust them to be, you know, excellent in their weight division. Um, but certainly when we got into the world, we're on that side of the camera and we're just, letting the sweat move and the stillness be there and the irritation and all the stuff that the land gives you while cameras doing their thing, you just sit there. Larry was almost monastic. He would be there clutching his Bible and relegate himself to a corner of the wilderness and just sit there and talk to himself and be in his scriptures. And that's just so, sort of delicious in a way because you just know Josiah's coming back. Here we go again. So there was a lot of safety regards his sheer level of, professionalism and just ability.
Yeah, he's an amazing actor and has been doing his craft for such a long time. And when I talked with him, I said, did Craig allow you some, way to go off script if you needed to? And he said yes,
Hmm.
but he doesn't feel comfortable with it. And Craig,
Right.
that's got to be a real joy to have an actor like that.
Yeah,
Well,
he's a theater guy, and theater folks are accustomed to treating the script as gospel. I'm not super precious about the script, and Marty added certainly a certain amount of color to his character that went beyond some of the things that I wrote. I'm kind of stickler for story, and I want to make sure that the important stuff comes through. And sometimes when somebody ad libs a little bit, if it doesn't sound like it's really fits in the 1800s, let's run that back. And there were a couple of those, but to a person, they were all very receptive, and they brought so much to the table.
Martin, I mean, this character, you've got a guy here that's, I think it hits all the notes. I mean, he's even got a good sense of humor about him, and that's kind of rare in the type of person you're playing.
yeah, that's what. There's this one scene with Maggie, Lilith. It's the fire scene, and it's there's the world understand there's a law to the jungle, whereas
Mhm.
only bushfires provide a certain amount of heat that makes the seeds pop open, and that heat carries the seeds, and so there are cycles to nature. It's how it perpetuates. Uh, there were those elemental sort of moods in the story too, and I certainly remember that fireside scene where she asks, "Is this real?" And he's like, "This is real." Um, and gets a little bit melancholy because he's not real, doesn't give himself permission to be that, but he's like, "There's this place I'd like to have seen again." And for her character to take that and go, "Well, see this blanket? I'd like to have finished this again." And there's just that crack in this condensed pressure cooker universe where she just throws him a bone. And the way that cracks that universe open, and Ned's allowed to laugh. And it's like this thing explodes in this just world of struggle. Just and that's also the moment where she leans into him and gives him his come to Jesus moment and says, "No one's beyond redemption." So just in those little chambers of things that are agreed through the director, this is what needs to be experienced by the human beings in this scene. There were just those moments where it's like, right, we go from here to there in that moment. Again, by the good grace of Craig knowing to put Maggie on set.
Yeah, and that scene that you're talking about is, I think, a pivotal scene because that's where Ned lets her in.
And vice versa.
It's a death and
Yeah,
resurrection, that moment for Ned. Yeah.
yeah. Craig, talk to me about filming in Utah and the crews and the catering, everybody that lended their hands to this project.
Well, any film that manages to come together is a sort of miracle in a sense, and a lot of pulling our team together felt like it was seat of the pants, and yet, uh, you know, our Utah crew were on the ball, and our catering came from the manager of the location where we were shooting it, which was a private ranch, and uh, when he said I'm also a caterer, I was kind of like, yeah, and he was quite good, and a film set like an army
Mm.
marches on its stomach, right? And if you don't feed people almost embarrassingly well,
Yeah.
um, there's a you're in danger
Hang
of
on, what movie are you talking about?
Yeah.
a lot of food and good food. So, it's important.
Marty, I heard that you guys were all in, basically a couple of cabins. There's no electricity. You're sharing, a phone charger. Um, is that the roughest a set has been for you? I mean, is that how can I put it? Is that the most barren it's been?
Isn't that just a funny perception though? Because it's on the flip side of that question is that what you pray for? You're going out to shoot a Western for a month. I'm not going to speak to my son, and I don't know what reception is going to be like, but like Daddy's going away, he now starts to get what I do. Um, I think the closest we got to a blood sport was with the electricians and trying to get Wi-Fi up. So, but that's its own weaning process, isn't it? You want to be out there. You don't want to return to air conditioning and a hot tub, and you just, well, I certainly don't. I'm like, if I'm going to have the good fortune of being able to lie in a bed and hear coyotes out the window, like that's just a separate to being able to be there and do the job.
Mm.
Where this job takes us, that's half the package, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, this is really a labor of love, truly, because all of your characters, all of the people that are working on this, and I said this to Maggie this morning. I said, this goes beyond, dollars. It goes beyond getting a paycheck. I mean, you guys fell in love with doing this project, and it shows. It shows in every frame of this film.
Yeah, there was an awful lot of people commenting to each other, to me, this feels special. There's something's going on here. And there's part of you that desperately wants that to be true. And it's like, is it, are we really doing it? And I think we all felt like we were doing something special. And when starting to show it to people, and the reception has been, likewise.
Yeah.
So I feel great.
I do need to gallop on in here, to use all the phrases, and say, from the actor's slice of the universe or our perspective, what was really special about it was, they talk about the great directors that just almost don't say action
Mm.
and they just let it happen. And when the people go, okay, we need to get, and it's like, shh, just let me. Craig was almost like a gatekeeper for us, like that. He knew what needed to happen. He certainly trusted us to go where we needed to go. But that's a whole sort of other pleasure where it's just like we're going to get out there, and at some point we'll run out of light. Until then, we'll tell the story. But I remember, there was one or two moments where Craig, came in to direct me, and it wasn't a direction. There was like, just to recall, it was like the river scene again. That scene with Lilith, and he just come in and just I'd obviously run the scene once or twice, even if just to myself. And he came in and maybe he wanted me to see the river clearer or bigger, and he just sat there and just kept saying to me, telling me the river he could see until it went into me. And as each time he said it, the river got bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was just this sort of alchemical thing where it's like, that's such a fluid way to come in and infuse your vision. It was just such a sort of transparent exchange. And I just thought, still, even coming in and trying to guide something, just let us just be nebulous and hover into this world, So that's just so indulgent.
Well, Craig, Larry this morning gave a huge compliment. He says, and after all is said and done, I think about this movie and I can't think about ever being directed. He can't remember you directing him. And that's, I think, just a wonderful statement to say that this was so fluid.
Yeah, well, that's a little bit of my magic, huh? I mold them, I shape them.
Yes, it is.
They don't even
Yes.
know that they're big. No, I'm kidding. The first job of the director is to pick the right people, right? And then you mostly get out of the way. And I told them each person. We had an individual Zoom meeting because that was the way the world was at that time. And individually, I said, I come from the world of acting. I speak the language. I will tell you as much as you want to know. I can answer just about any question you can throw at me. But I'm not going to fill your head with a bunch of stuff if you don't need it. And, I think there's a comfort in knowing that I'm there if you need me. And there's also a real value in me getting out of the way and go, show me what you got. We'll start there. And if we need to make little adjustments, we'll make them. And that's all we ever were doing. I think we were making little adjustments, and we were making sure the choreography with the actors and the camera was in play in the right way, and that we got it.
In our final moments, and thank you both, really, and I got to thank Anne for everything today. It's been a hell of a day just
And
in getting this all together because such beautiful stories are coming out about making this film. Um,
mm, wonderful, wonderful.
Martin, what do you think audiences will take away from watching the film?
Oh, look, this is actually the only question I'm interested in answering because it just occurs to me because I don't know, man. Where you release the movie, I think maybe there's shell shock going on. It's like you're going to get some audience because the film exists. What's happening is just for there to just be these consistent understanding reviews. It's like for me, Craig just sort of stopped the clock for a second because we're in this TikTok swipe 30-second attention span universe. That's no one's fault. That's just what's happening. And the studios, God love them, they need to hit their shootout quota and whatever. The script doctors meeting these obligations, no problem. Then there's this other sort of creative orbit, which will forever exist, and Craig's our captain. And he just wrote the story he wanted to write. It's like if I'm going to put 5 years of my life into something, what do I want to have happen? And what we're seeing is he put a slow, contemplative, pensive, patient, aching piece of visual poetry together that we all got, and good for us. We get the benefits because it's self-fulfilling prophecy. But he floated that boat, and people are just like, oh, hang on. There's a movie that's going to stop me for an hour and a half. And this is what's happened. He wrote an emotionally intelligent movie about a brutal time in American history and didn't race it. And people are just like, okay, great. I'd like to get that level of emotional exchange out of an hour and a half. Lucky us. What a miracle.
My feeling is, when people come to me as a critic and they go, they don't make films like they used to. Well, they do. You've got to find them, and this is one of them.
Yeah.
This is, like I said, just a throwback to those great stories and great acting and great cinematography. Also, Craig, I talked with Larry Cedar about this earlier because he's the only one in the room that would probably know, but your score is so much like a Bernard Herrmann score. It is amazing.
Oh, that's so great to hear. Yeah. Jeff Tolbert, the right amount of restraint, the
Yeah.
right amount of, drawing us in. It definitely was a conversation between us, but I so much defer to his expertise on that. And it came through for sure.
I've got to jump in here and say everything Craig just said about the composer, Jeff, has been everyone else's experience of Craig.
Yeah, you're quite a conductor, Craig.
Oh man, thanks.
And I want to thank you again both for stepping up and doing this again. Um, this bloody country is not to be missed, and I want people to experience on the biggest screen possible too, because it is a Western that you need to see the depth of field on these cameras that you've got going.
I haven't seen it on the big screen.
Yeah.
Take care, all of you, and Anne, thank you so much for this. And I'm going to see Anne Monday because I got one more interview. But wow, what a film! What a damn fine movie.
Wow, thank you, Tons. Thank you so much.
I love this return that people are doing to Westerns. And Larry, usually I start with the ladies first, but because you have done so many different types of things that are under that Western banner, um, is this a familiar genre to you? I mean, do you enjoy Westerns?
Very much, very much. There's something very stripped away about it. There's the bareness, the rawness of it, the dirt of it, if you will, showing up and just being in the state you are without all the amenities of modern living. It tends to lead you towards a more pure, emotional, human response. You're just dealing with what's just there. So I like it a lot.
And Cameron, as we move over to you, what about
Sure.
the Western genre growing up, and did you enjoy those movies?
Yeah, I mean, I love Dances with Wolves and I love I guess the mix of raw emotion with nature and the beauty of the landscape. And yeah, it's just an all-American classic genre. It was like a privilege to be in a Western. All my friends are so jealous that I'm in a Western.
And Maggie, same question. I mean, has that kind of inspired your youth? I mean, watching Westerns?
Yeah, I mean, I'm from the South and grew up in Birmingham in Alabama, and so always watching Westerns. Where's my poster here? Is the Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid was my favorite. And the opportunity when this came up, it was just too good to pass up.
And Larry, what about the script? It really drew you in.
It just seems so raw. The things they're dealing with, they're in a state of survival constantly, and that tends to, as I said, strip away all the things we associate with modern living, like social media, and our clothes have to be right, and our cars, and the things we own, and you're just basically in a survival mode, which tends to expose the raw humanity of it. And I like that very much. You immediately connect with each other on a very like I said, a survival level. Everyone means something to you in a very serious way. There's no like frivolous kinds of behaviors. When you say something to someone, it's because you have to say it, and they respond in a way that's required. Is an immediacy to the emotion. I found it very appealing, very appealing.
And Cameron, your character Martha, what a blessing to play someone like that.
I love Martha. She's the rock, I think, and a survivor. And I think faith and family are her jam. That's what she lives for real. And I love this part. And there was some humor in it too, which I really appreciated.
I think you cannot have drama without having some humor.
I agree. Otherwise, the drama doesn't go over. Yeah.
It just becomes a monotonous kind of tone.
Yes.
And Maggie Lilith, again, it's one of those characters that don't come around very often.
No, absolutely not. And there was one day that I was up in the woods. We got very close to nature during filming.
Maybe too close.
We were a little far from our trailer, so I had to use the facilities. So the woods became the facilities. And I was coming out of the woods, and Zippy and I crossed paths, and I guess I was still in it. And she said, "Whoa." She was like, "You look like Lilith just then." And it was really one of those characters that the opportunity to just sink into a completely different person, a completely different character, and the dynamics between Lilith and Ned, and Lilith and Josiah, and Lilith and the other wives were just so different. And, the relationship between each person was so specific, and it was just such an honor to be able to play her.
Yeah, a lot of times when we do pieces that require more than 6 people, we get into these characters that are not well written out, and every character in this is beautifully written. Craig did such a great job in piecing this together. And Larry, I mean, you're the expert in this conversation about that, because you've done this for so long. Scripts like this don't come around, do they?
Nope. And it allows you as an actor to leapfrog a lot of the preparatory stuff or extraneous stuff you might need to get into a character that's not as well written. Because I think, and I would ask, Cameron, and I would ask you both to agree or not, that I think the minute we hit the first day, and I remember where there was this walking scene, we just did this long walk. I think we all kind of connected to each other very quickly, and the dynamic between the different characters, I think we very quickly established how we felt about each other. I felt that way. And, I joke with, gosh, why am I drawing a blank? Ned. Why am I drawing a blank? Martin, thank you. I just think of him as, Ned.
Ned, yeah.
When we first met at the airport, when we all landed in the location, and I took one look at him and he took one look at me, and we immediately knew we were going to be butting heads for the next 3 weeks, not because we didn't like each other, but because we had very different personalities. I felt the same way with my 3 wives and my children. Each of them elicited a response, and we synced up as a cast, is what I would say.
Well, you have the family of the set, and then when the director yells cut, that's a wrap for the day. Then you have the family of your fellow actors.
Yes.
Well, especially because we were all sharing a cabin with each other. I don't know if you're privy to to our amenities during shooting, but we were shooting on this enormous ranch, and we had cabins. So me and Cameron and Zippy and Rainey were all in one cabin, and the boys were in another cabin. There was no electricity. The lamps and the refrigerator were propane powered. They had a Starlink satellite so that we could get a little bit of internet, and it was fantastic because it really put us in it. But it also made us bond and spend a lot of time together offset. And so it almost helped us work out our relationships, not only as our actors, but as our characters. We couldn't get away from each other. And that's what it was like back then,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I just heard that you guys only had one phone charger.
We grew very close. We grew very
guess
close. The working relationship was very tight. We were very much a family. That as agreeable as we were with each other off camera, somehow there's this weird connection between the closeness of loving each other and the closeness of annoying each other that translated, because we were close, emotionally close off camera, but the minute the camera rolled, we were at each other's throats. But it was the same kind of connection. This is what I love about filmmaking and art in general, is things appear that you hadn't planned on. And it's like you open a door to the creative universe and things flood in. And it's always a wonderful surprise, assuming things are going well, like they did with this film. There's a very strong connection, very strong connection.
Yeah.
Larry, as Josiah, I mean, here's this patriarch that's an amazing character to play. Did you find yourself in that role off camera as kind of
I tried not to.
dad?
I didn't want to be that. I mean, I watched the film the other night, and excuse my French, but I thought, what an asshole. Jeez. He just was so hard on everybody. And I said to my wife, I said, God, this guy's just unlikable. How did I do this? Because I try to be, I want to work with people. Well, I want to get along with people. And I said, why was I such a jerk? And she said, well, you had to be, to protect your family. You had to be that hard. Now, you were mistaken in many cases as to the way you treated people, Lilith in particular. But maybe you just felt, like many fathers do, that you had to be that hard on everyone to survive.
Yeah. Yeah. Maggie, we're talking about a period piece. How much does costuming inform your character?
Oh, incredible amounts. I was just having this conversation with somebody the other day about the corsets. We were in corsets this whole time.
God.
I'm wearing one now, so it's, yeah.
I still haven't left Lilith. And we were meeting with the costumer when we got there, and she had these little pantaloons for us. And back then it was, not to get too personal, but it was no underwear. You just had pantalones. And the girls and I were kind of like, you know what? I don't think we're that method. I think
Exactly.
As hard as it is to film in locations like this, I certainly hope that brings the humor when you're off camera up, because you've got to protect your mind somehow. Is that true, Maggie?
As far as being able to shut off, you mean? Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've heard so many interviews with different actors and different takes on method, and I think everybody has their own process and how far they want to go, but for me, at least personally, I switch on, I switch off because I've got to be able to be me because you get into um, a dangerous place if you don't turn off, I think, for me at least.
Is that true, Cameron?
I think so. I mean, I think because it was so well written, in terms of you kind of had to do, I anyway had to do less preparation because I just was like, what's happening in the scene? And all I had to do was fulfill that. And also Craig was great about, once we were set up for a scene, he would do this thing that I called like story time, where he would just sort of gently remind everyone like this is what just happened and this is what, and you might feel this way about Josiah and remember that this happened, and it just kind of helped you land in the scene, and it was great. I haven't had a director do that before, but it was a great way to kind of gentle us in to the scene and not take in too much the stress of whatever's going on in the scene or the actual environment we were in, and pushing carts all day and all that stuff. So
was Craig good enough to let you go off script every so often? I mean, were you allowed to ad lib?
This is just me. I happen to not like ever going off of script in certain situations without the director or writer's permission. I feel it's the actor's job to take what he's given and make it work. There was one scene where I improvised, where I was reading from the Bible, and he said, just have a Bible session. And we did that, and it was fine. He allowed for that. See, Craig is the perfect kind of director. He has a very clear, solid idea about what he wants, but he also trusts his actors enough to let them find their breath in the scene. Yeah. He will guide you if he feels you're off course or suggest, and he will listen to suggestions. But my favorite directors, and Craig in particular, allow you to find the character and let that guide you. They don't come in with too strong an interpretation. They say, let's see what you have. And then they steer you accordingly. So yes, improv perhaps, but more improv in terms of emotional choices, not so much the words. The words as written were to be spoken. And I agree with that.
Cameron, how about you? I mean, with how you approached your character, did you go off script? I mean, were you allowed to?
I feel similar to Larry. I mean, and especially because the writing is so great, I wanted to honor it. I mean, I think there's always improv in the moment, especially with action. You don't know what the set's going to be like till you get there. And they're like, oh, you're going to have this kettle, and oh, you got to feed him the beans. And then, right. Oh, wait, am I happy to serve my husband beans, or is he being a pain in the butt right now? So you have to, I think I was improvising in terms of reactions, and some people say like film acting is reacting, kind of, it's about listening and being in the moment. I don't think I went off script, but I could have asked. Like Craig was very amenable to suggestions, but I liked my lines. You know
what I found astonishing in hearing you say that is that how similarly, just coincidentally, all of us seem to work. Because actors come in with different styles.
Yeah, that's true.
And we pretty much we kind of all were open to whatever happened and yet committed to the script and the actions as directed. We all were very much in favor of making it work together. That was astonishing for all of us. And maybe that's casting. Maybe Craig picked that up in all of us, that we are all people that want to work together to find the conflict. Because from day one, I went, oh, this is going to be fine. We all work similarly, disciplined, professionally, but committed to the emotion and the intent of the script. And then you just go to work,
Well, for me as an audience, I felt that, it's very rare to see a cast that's so copacetic, so simpatico, that all the acting disappears. And Maggie, you for one, I mean, the camera loves you, but this was more like watching a live theatrical than it was watching a movie for me.
Oh, wow. Wow. In what way? Can you
feeling the emotion as your character is giving it to me and all of that. I didn't feel there was a a screen between us. It felt like you were on stage.
Wow, thank you. That's a very nice compliment. This was a really special project for me, and I'd be remiss not to at least put it down for posterity, as you said. This was the last project I was able to work with my acting mentor on before he passed away, and um, Sal Romeo is his name, and we worked a few times before we went to shoot, and he has just such a very special way of bringing out Lilith. And once I was able to be on set, it was just very easy to just snap back to everything that I worked on with him. And Lilith there were two things about her that a few people mentioned that I agree with, that there was like a vulnerable strength to her. And I wanted that to come out because I wanted to show that women back then, I mean, women are women, you know, people are people, whether it's 1865 or 2025. And we all feel the same things, whether it was 1865 or 2025. Like, just because it was back then doesn't mean they didn't have the feelings. And so bringing that to her and showing the conflict within her. And Craig and I went back and forth a lot about like, well, would she really stay? You know, like, is it really just nothing? And and she would, because even though she had those feelings, but especially back then, and that's where the change is that in 1865, women didn't have the luxury of being able to be like, peace out. I'm going with somebody who actually cares about me. But Josiah did care about her though. So there was so much layered conflict for Lilith in making this decision, and for Ned to help make the decision for her as well at the end.
Yeah, it's such a layered piece. Larry, you've had the pleasure, I would think, of working with just about every director under the sun, and sometimes not a pleasure. This, you know, Craig is up there with, in my opinion. I mean, this reminds me of a Sergio Leone piece.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? It's funny because I don't remember being directed. I don't remember him directing me, and that's what's astonishing, is he was able to set the table and then step back and let it happen. And I watched, like I said, the film the other night, and I was caught off guard by how deeply it affected me. And I wrote to Martin. I said, "You son of a bitch, you broke my heart." And you know, of course, as with most actors, the cliche is bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. My line. You know, you shoot your scenes, and then you see the film, and you realize there was a whole other world being filmed that you had nothing to do with. And I watched the scenes between, you know, Lilith and Ned, and it just broke my heart. And I keep telling people this is an indie film with a small budget, but you've got to see it, because you go to films to be taken to an understanding of your humanity. This is what we crave. This is what we want. Please help me understand. This is why we see art. Help me understand what this is. What's going on? Am I right in my fears? You know, do I have a right to be here? And then you see a film like this, and it gets there. It gets there. And so it's very gratifying. It's very emotionally disturbing, but it helps you understand. He did a brilliant job, and the actresses and actors to get
and
that
it makes me
happen.
as a film critic want to go back and check out his other work, you know, the short films that
Absolutely.
he was doing and all of that. Cameron, I mean, when people say this is a work of love, I mean, this truly was, you know. I mean, paychecks are okay, but when you get to this type of level of interacting and all of that, it becomes something more.
I agree. Yeah, now I'm welling up as you say it. I mean,
That's right. Yeah.
It's going to be rare. It kind of, I mean, as tough sometimes as Maggie was saying, as the environment was and all of that, just the communal feeling, every single actor, adult and child was excellent and all of a piece, and the producers and the director just went all the way, making this the best film it could, like striving for excellence, I guess. And that's not always the case. And I just feel like, yeah, I'm in this film. I'm good. You know, I mean, I want more. Everyone wants more, but like this was rare.
Isn't that funny how as actors, that's what we crave more than anything? And sometimes, you know, the money, yes, we need money to live, but what we all crave as actors is to be a part of something like this. Yeah. That's real. I just want to add one other thing. In watching the film, I noticed there was, if you watch the film again, at some point in every character, they say something, a line, or there's a moment where you have a really deep understanding of who they are, you know, and like for Maggie, your character, you said at some point, he asked you a question. You said, nobody ever asked me what I thought.
What I think, yeah.
And just like there was this whole world. And for you, Cameron,
Right.
There's some point for Cameron where your character, you snapped at me with a strength that no one was supposed to be allowed to have. And you went, oh, she's the boss. She's the boss. She's the one in charge of all of this, but in an undercurrent way. And if you'll watch, each character has a moment like that. And that's great writing.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do that. You know, because most people want to hit stuff over the head with a hammer. It's too obvious.
Well, that's what you guys do, is you breathe life into the words, even though the words are beautiful. I mean, Elmore Leonard was like the epitome of a Western writer. I mean, he wrote True Grit and Hombre and things like that, but the actors breathe life into it and make it something different, something ethereal.
That's our job. You know, you hope, you just pray you can pull it off. Because it's a slippery art. You know, you don't always get there, and you just desperately hope you will help the writer bring it to the screen.
Maggie, before I go, what do you think audiences, once they discover the film, will take away from it?
Big question. I think the people that I know that have seen it, that hadn't seen it before, it really shows that like there isn't always a happy ending, and that in real life, especially giving kind of giving honor to the people back then, and to, I think, the women, because I love how this movie is about the women, and that's one of the things that really drew me to it, is like these are women who are finding their strength, from Zippy to Cameron to me to Rainey. Like we're all finding our strength through this excursion and through this experience. And even though we find our strength, it doesn't necessarily mean, even though there's this romantic connection between Ned and Lilith, it doesn't mean that Lilith is going to go run off with Ned. She has consumption, you know, like what's that going to look like? And recognizing the strength in the people, in the women, especially. Sorry, Josiah.
No, I think it's very much about that. Oh, I totally agree. I think the film is very much about that. Very much, if not totally about that.
And these women found their strength, and this is just one story of that.
Cameron, what do you think audiences will take away from the experience?
Craig is a great writer because he shows two different points of view. Like, I think most of the time you agree with Ned, but sometimes you see Josiah's point of view. And as far as Maggie's character, sometimes I'm like, run, girl, run away. Like, she shouldn't stay, you know? I think it's just a thoughtful piece about, like Larry was saying, trying to survive and doing what you think is right. And also, frankly, like problem solving, you know, all these different people, different points of view, working together to solve this problem of getting to this town and taking care of these bandits. And like, we're doing this no matter what. And I find that inspiring, you know.
Larry, what do you think?
I always come back to discovering humanity. I think anyone who sees this film will, I always say, we're on this planet somehow. We're all in it together, whether we like it or not. Please help each other as best you can. You can't always, but please help each other. We've been put in this situation together, and at minimum, just try to be kind and help and support each other, as difficult as that might be. And that's what it is to be a human. There's a great deal of pain, but there's also a great deal of love. And I think that's what you take away from this film is just do your best to be kind to each other, to get through this together, and recognize your humanity. And I think that is reassuring to people because they go, I'm just a human being. I'm okay. It's okay. Everything I'm going through that I think is right or wrong, it's okay. I'm just struggling like everybody else. That's what I take away from it. And I hope other people.
It's a beautiful message. By the way, before I go, the score for this is so beautifully done. I know you probably didn't have anything to do with the score, but I have to tell you that it reminds me of a Bernard Herrmann score. I mean, it is absolutely beautiful.
I would just like to interject here because I said that very thing. A good score is one that you're not even aware is there. It's creating emotions, it's supporting the scene, and then suddenly you go like, oh, there's music. I wasn't even aware. It's so integrated and so supportive of the script and story that it's almost invisible. And yes, you're right. The score is brilliant.
Thank you all for your time, and thank you all for doing this movie. It's such a brilliant film.
Thank you,
Tony.
watching it.